Ademola Adesola, and I'm reaching you live from Winnipeg, Manitoba. I'm also saying thank you to my viewers for always showing up, for always giving their sharing their comments, their thoughts, and the reactions. I'm so grateful. It's a maiden edition of Between You and Me, and I'm honored to have a very respectable man. Sorry, I'm honored to have a very respectable man, a brilliant mind, a lover of books and everything progressive. He's also a family lover and anything good, a lover of anything progressive. And his name, okay, let me keep the name before I introduce him. Like I said earlier, my name is Ademola Adesola. So it's indeed a great honor for me to have Dr. Ademola Adesola as my first guest on this program, on this show, Between You and Me. But before I bring him in, I would like to state again the purpose of this program, this interview program, which is clearly for people to draw insightful idea, to draw information from other people who have worked apart or working apart. There's always something to learn from people. They say that experience is the best teacher, but most times people wait for them to go through that pain before they learn their lesson. But when there's a better way to learn the lesson, why do you have to wait to go through the pain when you can learn from other people? So, and that is the essence of this show, that those who have worked apart or still working it have something useful to contribute to those who are new on this path. So like I've mentioned, the purpose of the program, and I also want to ask that if you have any question, if you have any concern, if you have any contribution, you can put it down in the comment section. Ademola is a man of many parts, and you can testify to it by his profile. I know a lot of people have seen his profile. And once again, I'm honored to have you here. I know you have a very busy schedule, and you still took out time to be here despite your busy schedule. I want to say thank you, and I do not take this for granted. Within this short period of time, we want to quickly explore some aspects of your we would like you to share your experience, some aspects, and if not just a little part of your experience during the course of your research, doctoral research. And you could as well go a bit before then. Just let's start and flow with the tide. Is that something you would like to say before we go ahead?
Well, I'm sorry, everyone, for the little glitch that we had. Of course, that's internet for me, technology for you. But I want to thank you, Tolu, for inviting me to the maiden edition of your program. You insisted that I should be the first guest that we would have. Of course.
They say charity begins at home. So.
Oh yeah, and I had to give you. I mean, my thoughts when you persuaded was that well, if you want to bring people to come share their stories and what the successes, are, what the challenges are, by inviting your own person, you are also saying that I also have people who have stories, positive stories of difficulties and all that. So I thank you for it. I feel quite honored to be here.
Yeah, and I want to say thank you for obliging to hit. Yoruba people will say that, how can you have Shokoto at home and be going to Shokoto? So thank you. So let's go into the business now. I want to ask that, how would you describe your childhood? I mean, what was it growing up for you?
Well, thank you. For me, growing up was bittersweet. It was a bittersweet experience. I was raised in a home, where my parents were quite loving, and they were also inflexibly strict, disciplinary, in that sense. They showed me love, they showed me affection. Of course, they gave me room for freedom, but that freedom was of a limited, extremely limited kind. I had no time to play like other kids. You had to be reading. You had to, if you were not reading or doing your assignment, you were running errands. If you were not running errands, you were seated somewhere in a corner meditating, as a young person. And TV was not even on the table. If you wanted to watch TV, it was when your parents were watching and they wanted you to watch. Unlike today, when, our own kids would, with all the boldness they could summon, come to you and say they're going to watch TV,
Like, there was a day I told a son about it, and he said, like, but why are you being bossy? Like,
absolutely,
who?
absolutely. Yeah, I mean,
You're telling the Nigerian mom she's being bossy?
Yeah, you could not even talk to your parent that you wanted to watch a particular thing. So when our parents were away, we would put on the TV, and whenever we got any wind of their presence, we were switching it off and pretending to be reading, and all that. Our parents, my father, my mom, these are lovers of education. Of course, my mother had run a school before she retired from doing so. She was a teacher, and they value education, and they place so much premium, on that. I ran into a lot of trouble, with them, because they wanted you to be doing certain things,
Okay. All right. Because of our time, I wouldn't really want this to be so long. So would you say that this experience, the way your parents have brought you up, has shaped your life, or it's a part of what has helped you to what you are, who you are now?
Absolutely, I would say that. I mean, quite importantly, their love of education, of course, reflected my own interest in anything of the mind, the life of the mind. That would be for them. And secondly, in our home, it was a home where justice was instituted. You were praised for every good behavior, and you were you were punished, for or made to account for any wrongdoing. Yes. Fairness was the system, and I think that's reflected in my own, interest in matters concerning social justice. I'm unapologetically, for anything that can promote justice, that can promote, fairness, that can promote wellness of people. And I learned that from home. It was a kind of thing. And just to add another thing, in the home where I was raised, you justified everything that you had. If you wanted something, you were justifying it. If you want to do something, you have
to justify
providing reasons for it. And my parents, in spite of how very disciplinarian they were, they gave you time to do your own things. I remember, and I have to share this story, I remember when I was going from what in Nigeria's educational system we would call, higher, what do you call it?
Higher institution?
From GSS 3 to SS1.
Higher secondary school.
Right. So before the result came, we had done this exam, but the result came quite late. And so the school decided to say, okay, where do you want to go? You want to do science? You want to do art? You want to do commercial or whatnot? So I went into art straight away. And when the result came a few months later, it said that of the over 300 students who wrote that exam, only about 54, had result that showed they could go to science. And I was on that list. And I refused and said I was not going. So they said, well, it has to be with the consent of your parents. They had to write a letter. I went to my dad, told him, and my dad, I remember in his office, said to me, what path have you chosen? And I said, what I'm doing currently. He said, sit down there and write the letter, I will sign it. And I wrote the letter, he corrected it here and there and signed. And that was what I took to school.
That's actually so instructive. I would have loved to ask another question in that direction, but because of our time, that is not really the basis of today's meeting. Maybe other times, in future times, you can talk more about that and how the society, parents today are relating with their parents. We'll be able to talk more about that in future time. So for today, I want to ask you now, you've told us about your experience with your parents, how growing up was like for you. And I feel that you must have been open to several events and situations and events. At what point exactly did you um, determine that this is what you want to be? Did you have that insight? Even like I could say, a picture of what exactly you would like to be. At what point was it?
Yeah. Thank you for that question. Yeah, not many people who are even close to me do know that my passionate interest from the beginning was to be a teacher, but a teacher of something else and not what I'm currently doing. That's to be a law teacher. I was passionately interested in studying law. And I remember anywhere I went to, people were asking me, "Were you doing law?" And I would say, "No." I mean, because I was always, involved in all this, this robust discussion and all that. It happened to me as I was leaving high school to the university when I was figuring out what I wanted to do. Of course, back in high school, I had functioned as a campus journalist, right from there.
Even in the high school?
Yeah, I was in,
Okay.
in that sort of thing. So,
Okay, that would say
but
secondary school. You are becoming to be Canadian here.
right, yeah,
Secondary
secondary,
school.
right, yeah, because we have the, Canadians, in this
High
call.
school.
So I was the point I was making up. But even if I wanted to go into journalism, what was uppermost on my mind was to study law. I was reading about Ganifa Oemi, one of the topmost lawyers in Nigeria, reading about other people. I recall that I would be reading in the newspaper. There was always on Tuesday, Punch newspaper, Guardian, they were always doing law reports. Those were things that, caught my attention the most in those papers. And my dad would always buy 3 papers a day, Tribune, Guardian, and Punch. And I was reading all of those things. Twice, I made attempts, to study law at Obafemi Awolowo University. But the first time, my point was low. They said I couldn't do law. So I decided I was going to write the exam again. And I wrote the exam again. As if they didn't want me to do law, they increased the cutoff for law. So I then decided, okay, I was going to do something close, to law. And that was why I went into literature. And you know what? I still have that passion. And I'm telling you that I'm still going to have to study law. No, it's not going to go away. So
you would be practicing law in your older age. Anyway, there's people doing that.
Well, I don't know what you mean in my older age. I mean, I'm not even 40 yet, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
But the point is that when I went to the university, just as at 200 level, that was the point I decided I was going to actually major, in literature. And all that. I mean, that was a window that gave me opportunity to see life in such a very bigger way, that I have come to appreciate. And I also appreciate liberal education. I mean, I don't know what anyone can do without that kind of education.
Yeah. I think we have similar stories. Yeah, I remember trying to get admission into various universities, law. At a point, I just let me put in for English, and that went through. So after a year, I realized that I had the opportunity to then switch to law. I found out that this is somewhere I love, that I could even, I feel I could do better in this place that I found myself. So but unlike you, who still have the dream of going into law, I don't think I want to.
But I think there's a story you are not telling about why you ended up in English. I mean, take for example, if you had gone into law elsewhere, how would we have met
let's go on,
in the Department of English? Because that's where we both met each other, right?
Let's not go into that now. Okay. Thank you for that wonderful exposition, if I would say, to your growing up and all that. So I want to ask you that, what was the inspiration for going abroad? I just want to really manage our time here.
Yeah,
just go straight to the point.
Thank you. The point at which I decided to go abroad was when I thought I had had enough of, my country of birth, Nigeria. As you know, I was, and I would still argue, active, contributing to the national discourse on how the country, can progress and how it can, of course, travel a different path that will be useful and meaningful, productive for the larger, Nigerian people. I was on radio, I was in newspaper, I was almost every other place talking about this place. But increasingly, what was manifest to me was this was a country that seemed, to be completely held in the terrible hold of the political class, and they were not going to let go no matter what anyone did. So I felt, well, I want to explore the world, and I guess I would better start doing that, actually going through a PhD program. And by the way, he was a friend of mine. If the word friend doesn't even capture what it is, who suggested the idea of Canada, to me, and then we started, doing that. And it's interesting that journey, from that time when I decided until I arrived here, it wasn't something that happened on a very smooth lane. There were, things attached to that. As if time permit, I want to go into that again. So I got that. So I looked to Canada and applied to just one university in Canada, which is the University of Manitoba, and I got the admission. That was in 2015. April, I got that admission. And I thought it was going to be smoother from there. But that was not to be. You know that for good time, I had to apply for visa. study visa, to go do that program. It only happened on the fourth time, actually, when I came, and that was, when I started the program in 2018. So
from 2015 to 2018.
Absolutely.
And
so basically,
go ahead. Please complete your thoughts.
Yeah. So basically, the desire to go abroad was, of course, that I've had enough of where I was existing in or living in, and secondly, to internationalize my training. It's not the case that if I had done a PhD in Nigeria, I wouldn't have done a good work. But of course, there's always going to be certain things that I was able to, get get exposed to, path that I traveled that would not be available to me, in Nigeria. So, those are the two reasons why, I made that.
Thank you for that, Dr. Ademola Adesola. Before I ask you the next question, I would like to tell our audience that if you have any question or you have a contribution, you have a concern, please put it in the comment section. Like I said earlier, I'll do all to read out the questions, and within the period of time we have, if we are not able to read all the questions, we can attend to it after this session. Just try and put it down. You can also put down where you're watching from and what time is it. My name is Tolulope Epitola. I'm reaching you live from Winnipeg, Manitoba, and it's 11:30 a.m. here. Thank you for your time. So you mentioned that you got the admission in 2015 and you didn't start until 2018. What happened? How come the distance was so long? And was it that they waited for you?
Well,
3 years.
That's the thing. And this was an act, in my view, of graciousness on the part of the Department of English, University of Manitoba, and of course the Faculty of Graduate Studies. When my first attempt at getting a study permit didn't materialize, I wrote to them to say, well, I would like to defer and try again. Oh yeah, they were quite easily willing to do that for me. Second, when I did the second application and it didn't come through, I wrote again. They said yes. If the third request for deferment was at the instance of the department. Because after I had done my third application for a visa, a study visa, and it didn't come, I made up my mind. In fact, I had gone back to OAU, where I had got my previous degrees, to apply for a PhD program, and I had got admission already, and even got a supervisor.
I remember.
To supervise, my work. So I wrote to the department and said, oh, thank you for all the considerations, and here is where I stopped trying again. And the following week, the chair of the graduate study, in the department wrote me and said, well, if you don't mind, you could put in for another deferment. Maybe if you try again, it could work out. If for me that was French, it was Greek, it was strange, and I felt. But later, I gave thought to what he said. That look, I'm not going to be paying for deferment, and if I tried again and it didn't work out, well, that so be it. And so I agreed to defer again the third time, and the university was there to say we would be there for you, and that was what happened. And I, of course, went to apply for the visa the fourth time.
Like
the fourth time. In fact, I was thinking it was not going to happen because the session for that year had already started, the fall term of 2017. I had started, and I had still not got response from the immigration in October, when, of course, the session started in September.
Started in September.
Sometime in October, they wrote to me and said, well, you want to ask your school if you can still join or you want to wait till the next time, which is what I did. And then, of course, we agreed that we're going to wait till the next time. And later in November that year, 2017, the visa came. And, it was all good thing for me. So I had to leave. So it took that long, and for me, amongst others, that was one of the reasons why when I started the program, one of my decisions was that I was going to finish up on time, in record time. It was. Before
we get there, let's not. I want to quickly say something about when. How do I put it? I don't want to be too religious here, but when the Bible says that you stand before men and not mean men, that is, if you had done what you're supposed to do.
Absolutely.
Can you imagine school deferring your admission for you because they know what the stuff they could have as well said there's nothing so serious about this person, let him go. But for a whole 3 years, a whole university had to wait for you to come. That's a big one. So that's why I always tell people that you keep doing your best. You keep adding value to yourself. You never can tell where you would need this thing. Just like in your own story here.
I agree with you, but I wouldn't put so much on, myself and say, like, I was so special and that's why the school was waiting for me. But maybe I just got lucky with the kind of people who were looking at, what they were looking at and felt that, no, the school had no control over immigration matters. Otherwise, probably they would have done something. But they kept giving me letters. They kept writing me all kinds of things.
All their support and everything.
And throughout, and I must say, from that day one up to this point when I rounded off the program, it's been one support after another, and give it to them. Canadians, just exceptionally gracious people. And and I experienced that graciousness, and which is to say also, when I was leaving, almost every other person that I informed in Nigeria that I was leaving who had, without asking them, also decided to be instrumental in one way or another. Even when I left with family back home, there were people who were going home, who were, with the family, who were taking care of the family, who were always there. So that's the kind of thing that I experienced, actually.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ademola Adesola. So if you are someone out there, if you're listening to this now, you'll be watching this or you will be watching this as a replay, there's something very inspiring in what Ademola just related to us. Keep doing your best. Never give up. You never can tell when this thing will work. Just never give up. Just keep trying. Sometimes the situation would warrant that you just throw the towel into the bucket, but never do that. Just keep pushing yourself, keeping on. So I want to ask you, was there a time you felt it wouldn't work? You just wanted to give up?
Let's not pretend I had given up. By that, I mean, when the third application fell through, I had gone back to OAU and, said, I will start on that. That for me was giving up. If the university, the graduate chair didn't write to me to say, if you want, we can defer for the third time, I would not have defied. So I felt, well, not going abroad is not opening up now. So let me,
Let
in
me
the mean,
just.
be doing something. And let me say, since I mentioned OAU, and this is very crucial for me to mention, I also think, and this is my own experience, that the kind of training that I received at IFE, as we call it, at OAU, was very crucial for success, in Canada. And that's just a fact. If you went to OAU, particularly the Department of English, you know, you were like one person passing through the eye of the needle.
Of the eye of the needle.
Yeah, such was the
Like a
training.
horse passing through the eye of the needle.
Absolutely. You were run through the meal of that very strong. Yeah, he didn't have all the things he ought to have. It is department that could do better than it he was doing when we were there actually. And I understand things have even nosedived a little more. But when we were there, the kind of training that we received, the kind of minds that we engaged in classes, they were such that prepared your mind, structured your mind for the kind of busy work, the kind of heavy work that anyone is required to do in a graduate program in North America. So I will forever remain grateful to OAU and the wonderful people, the teachers, that I passed through, during my time there. So OAU was there, determination.
Okay.
And all that.
Yep. Yeah, for all those who attended OAU, if you don't attend OAU, this is not a like this. We just want to say, if you attended OAU, you've gone to a school, you've gone to a school. Maybe other people went to lessons. UI people don't come here because you are the one that always protesting.
If I may, in addition, the first job I got after leaving, graduating from OAU, came as a result of what I did in OAU. When I was in OAU, I was a campus journalist. I began, I joined a campus agency when I was in 200 level. And that made a whole lot of difference for me. So when I completed my first degree in OAU and I went to the Nation newspaper, I asked to be an intern. And graciously, Sam Omashe, the editorial board chairman, accepted. And I was taken to the Sunday desk where I was on the art desk. I'm saying that university gave me the platform, so everything isn't just about what went on in the classroom. The extracurricular activities, that we did was very, very important and instrumental, to the kind of round and sound development that anyone who would be worthy being called a graduate, need actually.
Yeah, thank you. So that leads me to my next question, which is, was there any time, what would it be? What would you say was the hardest time for you during your doctoral research?
Oh yeah. Well, can anyone do a PhD without such stories? Yeah, PhD is one hell of a place where you learn about life, in its very interesting forms, and all that. I mean, the fact of that research itself requires that you are, it has its own body, we shall say. And the way I've come to experience it, doing a PhD research can be quite, pleasurably punishing. Yeah, I put it that way. It has its own pleasure, that is punishment. It's oppressive. Every time you were thinking about it, you were playing with your kids, your mind was on that chapter. You're talking through, you are asked to go to the grocery store, you're driving there, or you are in the store, your mind was on it. It just took hold of your mind. But just to answer your question quickly because of time, I had very, very many pleasant and unpleasant experiences, and I'm just going to limit them to two, in no particular order, and not because they seem to be more important than others, but the ones that come to my head are even three. In summary, one is I was on this program 2 years without family. You recall, my family was in Nigeria and I was here, and that was not anything nice. Our first daughter, and only daughter, I assume, was was born in my absence, and it was about 5 months or so before I could, physically.
6 months.
Yeah, 6 months, hold her in my hand. That was something. And that was the girl who forced a poem from me, about her. I have that poem which will come in my collection in due course, although I've shared it before. So that itself was something. Secondly, of course, and I had people here who rallied around me. I mean, that was quite interesting too. Secondly, as it is my own, a way of doing things, when I was on the program, it got to a point I felt, I want to be more useful for the university in other ways. So I joined, the Graduate Student Association and decided to take up a role as chief returning officer for the election of a particular year. And the election went smoothly. That was not my first job as a chief returning officer. When I was in OAU, I had functioned in that capacity. Yeah, and it went very well. And so I did this one. And just after the election, the kind of, problem that came thereafter, with some party not interested in the way the thing went, made all kinds of strange and terrible allegations. That, for me, was a low moment. And it was a struggle. This I'm just describing. It was. They went into the print media, put all kinds of things out there about me. Luckily, there was a committee that was set up to do fact-finding, and the committee came back and, of course, concluded that everything that was alleged and said and done against me was completely out of place. And
can I come in there, please?
Yeah.
Would you say that was there was an underneath of racism, or what could have been?
Except I want to, be euphemistic or, speak tongue in cheek. That was it. I mean, I was this black guy, managing this. I wouldn't say everyone who was involved was racist. No, because I also had very many white folks, behind me who saw the ridiculousness of the allegations and felt this was unfair and stood with me, to challenge those allegations. And when the committee gave its report, it cleared me of all of those negatives and even requested that an apology be written to me by the association, and all the outstanding stipends that I was supposed to get, which of course from the beginning I didn't even know that, should be paid to me without any cent taken back, and which was done, actually. And so that was, for me, it was also a moment about learning about what Canadianism would involve in certain way, politics here. Thirdly, was the experience I had, and this is so also an experience. You recall that March last year, 30th of March, which was your birthday anyway, I had gone to book a cake, I'd done everything, and we were going to get that cake, that morning, together with our son, when this call came to me about a sister, my own younger sister, who we had been, taken care of because she was sick, that she died. How could anyone manage a wife, a spouse, who was celebrating being born, and a sister, your own blood sister, who was dying, who died, actually. And that was in the thick of the time that I was doing my chapters, some of my chapters, and it was disorienting, So those are some of the moments on the program that remain indelibly memorable, in my mind, and there were a lot more. But in just to wrap it up there, if these are challenging moments, I also have very many positive moments, so it was properly what this English writer, Thomas Hardy, would call life is a cataract of sorrow, punctuated with occasional glimpses of happiness. So, if you were doing a PhD, you also experienced that. There were your high moments, there were your low
moments.
This moment of difficulties that you felt, would I do this thing? Where will be the end of it? And you're troubled. But if you stay the course, because I don't know of a life without challenges. That's the truth. What you call life, as another poet, romantic poets put it, is saying that it's a melange of the good and the bad, and you must manage the good as well as you manage.
Has managed the bad.
I mean, they make for a rounded figure, right? I mean, it sound and
All
well
right.
adjusted, possible. Yeah.
Thank you for that longer, inspiring, did I say speech now? Yes. So if you're out there, remember that there's no life without challenge.
No.
We always have the good as well as the bad. So it depends on how you want to handle it. Do you want it to take over you? Do they take charge over you, or you want to be in charge? So it is your decision to make. It may not be easy at that point of decision, but you just have to face it, own it, and believe in yourself. Yeah, and once again, I'm sorry for your loss, and we hope that so continue to rest in peace.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm aware that you completed your doctoral research in 4 years, and this is so unlike what we hear and see. We see that many people go into it 5, 6, 7 years, they are still in it. How was that possible for you, considering the fact that you are a family man, not just a family man, a devoted family man? You also have your work where you teach classes. How were you able to, how was this possible?
Yeah, well, the PhD thing, for anybody who knows, it's not about it's not a race about who goes to the finishing line or who breaks the tape first. Yeah, it's just it happens differently for different folks. So anyone who spends 6 years, 7 years or more doing it, you can't really conclude that they were slothful or they don't know what they were doing. No, that's not the point. Research is a beast. You can start it, but it will take you in different direction, and there were things that will come your way. And don't forget, and people often don't remember, PhD candidates are not just students. They have other lives. They have other commitments, and you can't just define them singularly by their research. There are other things to them that they have to manage. So this will explain why some of them would not be able to finish in 4, in 5, in 6. But hey, when I was starting out, I spoke with a couple of people who were on the program, different programs, PhD, including those who were in mine. And I knew that people, some of the persons I spoke with, if not for delays from supervisors, we're also finishing in 4 years. Like my own brother, Arthur, everything he did was within the space of 4 years, even though for other reasons, it got up to 5. So when I came in, I made up my mind, given this information, that I was going to try as much as it were humanly possible, to do it in 4. And you know what? I have this supervisor who bought into that idea, and we were working at that pace. In spite of the speed, we didn't sacrifice quality, and that's a fact. So, and you're right. I had a lot of things on my table. There was a family who was just arriving newly in Canada, and which was the decision I made. I had to have finished some substantial part of the program, the courses, the candidacy exams before they come here. And so, and I thank this family who gave me the space and time to think, in spite of the fact that they needed one's company. And another thing that I would say, because again, we must not present a picture of something extremely rosy. This may be tangential, but hey, I have a family that I'm running. That family wasn't running smoothly. It wasn't. There were issues. There will always be issues. We don't agree on things. I'm supposed to be doing this, but I'm facing what I was doing. But it took understanding to iron out those differences and get things done and all that. So there were also learning moments on that journey. But importantly, the family bought into the idea that this thing had to be done and done in good time. So that was it. For me, many people didn't know. Some were surprised. I was supposed to do my defense November last year, but hey, there was a strike in my university, faculty strike.
So strike happens in Canada too?
It's been following me around. When I got my first admission in Ife, I didn't assume the campus because of an ongoing strike. And when we were on the program, there was strike. When I did my master's, there was strike. And now I was in Canada, there was strike. So
Strike followed you to
no,
Canada
he kept
again.
following me. Like if you didn't know differently, you would say there was somebody in my mother's village who was after me like that, you know. But the truth of the matter was that
Okay.
yeah, and it was a legitimate strike. I mean, because there were things that the faculties needed to put in place for this smooth running of the programs, you know, in the
Mhm.
university. So I finished in 4 because of that determination, that support from family, that supervisor who took me seriously, you know,
Yeah.
and made sure that we were working, you know, with the timeline that we have set for ourselves in that sense.
Thank you. Thank you. So I want to quickly ask this question, and let's really be fast this time because of our time. So what's one piece of advice that you would offer prospective students considering pursuing their PhD or even masters, whoever students that are considering pursuing their studies abroad? What's the advice you would offer them?
Yeah, time is not our friend here. I mean, there's a lot to
Yeah.
say, and I will stay in time, you know, take time to write about my own experiences.
Yeah.
It's something I want to do when I have the time. Uh, yeah, well, for those who are considering internationalizing their training, you know, by going abroad, whether it is to North America, it is to Europe, or even Asia, yeah, you have to make up your mind why you want to go do what you want to do. And I think that having a very good application package is important here. In my own case, and here is something for people. When you know that you need help, you know, don't be too self-conscious to ask for it. Where you need assistance with some of these things you're putting together, but you know, be asking. But before you do, make sure you've done your homework. You're not just heaping the work on somebody because they want to help you, but you have done your own work and make up your mind that if you go abroad, you're going to really, really improve on the workings of your mind and of your capacities. You're going to really learn and do the work. It's not about some traveling abroad for the
To
sake of.
catch fun.
No. You want to do the work. You want to be committed. You want to understand that there's a reason why you're going. And it's not going to be smooth from day one when you so decided. There were going to be challenges. You have to be making up your mind. And that's why it's good to also have people around you. I mean, I had people around me. I had people who took interest. I had people who paid attention to me. And then, you know, who took me seriously as I did myself. So it's important that that is the case. And finally, and this might sound contradictory, maybe some people didn't have to go abroad. I don't know. But if you feel you're doing okay and doing well where you are, I mean, why not continue? And if you have opportunities for, say, some conferences or some other kinds of things, you can do that. But hey, if you are going to decide to go abroad, let it be that you are the one making that decision. Let it be that you have made up your mind that that's what you want to do. And it's not that you're doing it for somebody or because somebody else did it. You know, so that decision is quite crucial, that it has to come from you. Because when it comes from you and you are encountering some of these orders, some of these challenges, some of these impediments, you would always reach out to your inside of you, you know, for strength and of course for people around you as well. So I guess that's as much as I can say for now about, you know, people who want to go.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that piece of advice. There was something that popped up in my mind while you were talking about people going abroad or not. You see, people now, they want to go abroad. They not because, no, they apply to study abroad, not because they actually want to study, but just because they want to use it as a way of escape from home. What do you say about this? Because we see them that it now becomes a burden for them when they get here, like, this is even not what I wanted to do, but because I just wanted to leave where I was coming from. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I mean, I can't speak for people taking certain decisions for whatnot. I mean, of course, we are purposive beings. We don't do things for the sake of it. There's a reason why we do what we do as human beings. Well, what I just want to advise is it doesn't make sense to waste one's time for something one doesn't need. Yeah, even if your plan is to go abroad, but it's the educational part that is openly available to you, yeah, take advantage of it. Learn. You can, in that sense, achieve two things by just one move. You can improve yourself by actually doing the school educational work and training that you have to do, and you can also be abroad, as opposed to having a narrow focus in that sense. I think what we do need, or what people need to understand, is to have this deep imagination about the way they're going about things and not be narrow-minded, in that sense. I mean, what the advice is often that if you are aiming for the stars, just shoot into the sky or something like that. I mean, whatever. So, for me, that's the advice. Don't just because you want to.
Just because you want to leave.
Right. Even if you are taking the educational part, ensure that you're going to get something, from that. You will improve your mind. You will improve your capacity. Because again, people often get it wrong. Going abroad, it's about nobody has some dollar trees or some euros growing on trees. Everybody has got to do their bit. You've got to work. And if you have the if your capacity is improved and you are competent to do certain work, you will get it. You will be there, and get this done. So that's the thing. Here you just still have to labor, and there's dignity in that.
Yeah. Thank you. And my last question, this is going to be between you and me, not minding our viewers, just between you and me.
Maybe before you ask your last question, I don't know if you are checking your chat, perhaps there's any question from anyone, but
yeah,
I can see Martins say a lot of things about
yeah.
Thank you everyone for your comment. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Okay. Actually, I see Martins sharing and that, but I can't really see any question. Yeah.
Maybe you go on to the question you want to ask.
Okay, so my question is, what is your favorite moment during your research?
Am I going to answer that question?
Are you on a hot seat?
I mean, it would be probably hard to think about it because, as I said, I had wonderful time doing the program. The ugly and the pleasant, the beautiful part of it, they were just for me good for becoming the kind of person that I am imagined to be, right? So they were good. And again, the program offered me opportunity to see people that I probably wouldn't have come across if I were in Nigeria. Students who I probably wouldn't, who are quite important to the process of my own growth, my own pedagogical development. That's very, very important for me. And people who took interest in my research, as well as people who were not even concerned about my research, but were concerned about my person. People who opened their homes to me, like, of course, Sik and his wife, and his kids. Those are wonderful people amongst the lot that, I have come across here. So those moments were every moment I cherished on the program. The challenges were there. There were times when you were asking yourself if you're not going to go crazy, and all that.
Yeah.
Before I came to Canada, my head wasn't this head of white in the manner that I am. But of course, the stress of it, the changes, everything. There's a way it takes a toll,
So what's that favorite memory you have?
Well, maybe the day my family came to Canada.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, because
all right.
All the while, even up to now, for some strange reason I don't know, I obey that instruction that if you cannot endure the heat, stay out of the kitchen. So I'm not a cooking guy. The kind of person. And of course, my eating habit is poor. I don't eat well, But the point is, when I was alone for those 2 years, you knew how poorly my feeding even got.
It got worse.
That was even the case. But when you guys came, and you started, like I didn't have to go to the kitchen.
Let me chip in something here. I remember the first time you came home and I was like, did this guy really come from Canada?
Yeah. So
why is he
Hey,
looking like this?
exactly. I remember you asking that question. So that was the thing. Like it wasn't for any other reason, but because I just got lazy, about going to the kitchen and all that. You recall that a few days ago I was saying to you when we discovered something we were both cooking, and I said to you that. Well, why didn't I think about this when I was all by myself? Like, if I was eating this,
Because we're always thinking about books. If it were books now, you'd have found a solution.
so
But because it's food,
no, but
okay,
I got
okay.
people who were bringing food. Like Sid will invite me over to his house. My wonderful brother Arthur and his wife. I mean, that those were occasions too that I cherished. If you were a PhD student, and you had people giving you food, no, that would make your day anytime. Free
All
food,
right.
especially.
Thank you so much. And to our viewers who have stayed with us till this time, we say thank you. We cannot thank you enough. It's really an inspiring and interesting time with you today, Dr. Ademola Adesola. And I hope our viewers enjoyed this show as much as I did. Please put in the comment section what's your highlight, what's your view, what's your feedback, what your question is, whatever you think about this show. They say that feedback is an important aspect of customer service. Okay, never mind. Maybe this is a client and customer issue here, so that we can always give you the best of what we have. Please put that in the comments. What's your view on it? You could also send me an email on tolulokpeibitola21@gmail.com if you have any thoughts. And Dr. Ademola, thank you so much again. And I know you'll be back. We still have a lot of things to talk about. But because of our time today, we cannot dive into so much. Hopefully, one of these days, we'll have you here again. Thank you, and
I
have
have
a
thanked
pleasant
you. I have
day.
thanked you way behind the camera, but I'm also thanking you for taking me seriously. And as I was saying to people, I mean, we may be laughing and smiling like this. This is not what we do 12 months a year. I mean,
12 months in a year.
yeah, we don't. You know that in our house, there's no 1 + 1 is equal to 1. It's always 2. The other person always has their views, and we had our moment. We have our time when like I don't even want to see your face. I don't appreciate what you're saying and all that. So yeah, that's part of life. It's life. I mean, there is we cannot pretend about it and say we don't have issues. We do. We disagree a lot, about things. Yeah. But I thank you very much for taking me seriously and for bringing me to your show. And I hope that other guests you're going to bring hereafter are going to be more of value to your guests. Your audience going forward. Thanks so much.
Thank you. So to our viewers, I want to say thank you again. And the next edition will be coming up in 2 weeks' time, and we'll be having another super guest that would encourage us and inspire us with their own stories. Like I said, if you have any question, feel free to drop in the comment section. You could send me an email to lokpeibitola21@gmail.com. And till I come your way again, my name is Tolulokpe Ibitola. Have a very beautiful day. Bye.